Manx Radio Podcasts, powered by Shore.
Women Today, brought to you by citywing.com for your next flight away.
Can I have one tonight, though?
Once you've had one glass of wine, then you're very keen to have another.
Well, yeah.
Do you know, this is great because we're supposed to be talking about more beach buddy stuff in this special Women Today podcast. Actually, what we're talking about is the joys of red wine.
Yes, well, why not?
Yeah, but speaking of which, red wine comes in glass bottles.
It does, yes.
Which leads us to talk about the likes of recycling.
Yes.
And things that in general you think, Bill Dale, that we can do to help not only the island sort of coastlines and shorelines, but, you know, sort of just little things we can do to help the planet in general.
I think it's an easy thing to do these days because the amenity sites are great. You can imagine we spend a lot of time going to amenity sites. We separate the findings that we get on a beach. So we separate things like plastic bottles, tin cans, glass bottles, pieces of metal, and anything else that will go into a separate area. And then the rest of it goes to the energy from waste plant that makes electricity. So it's 100% everything that we collect is used on that basis. So if you go to the amenity sites, which I just think they're great places, I've found some lovely treasures. I don't know about you guys. I've found some great things over the years. But how easy it is to recycle these days. I know the local authorities have different policies on this. Some are very keen on it, others aren't bothered at all. But it's easy for the individual to do it. It's not difficult.
But then I've always had that question as to, because obviously living on the island, we don't have a sort of dedicated recycling plant. I know we were talking just off air there about the glass bottles being recycled over here, which is brilliant. But the stuff gets put on a ferry and then put in a truck and then shipped off and sort of transported, doesn't it? So, but is it still worth us doing it?
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't go too far. I think it goes to recycling centres in the north of England. Things like plastic. If you get a ton of plastic now, believe me, that is a lot of plastic because they press the bottles down. I mean, you could fill a swimming pool probably with a ton of full, of empty plastic bottles. Mm-hmm. It's such a big size, but it's worth best part of £1,000, I think, a ton. Now that's not small amounts of money. And the same for things like tin cans, certain types of tin cans, like Coke cans, the ones which are made of alloy or aluminium. And they're worth a fair bit of money. Metal's not worth much at the moment. Glass bottles are not sent away anymore. They used to be until a few years ago, and now they're crushed at Corlets in Peel, and they go into aggregates, which is a good way of using it up and putting it to proper use.
But what about rather say with transporting in the island using the trucks and things, the potential impact on the environment with that? So does the benefit in recycling still outweigh the sort of transport of it and those effects on the environment?
It's one of those questions, isn't it?
It's difficult.
If you ask for figures, it's not the easiest thing to get a hold of. I don't think it would be done if it wasn't making any sense. If it was costing serious money to do this and it seemed to be a worth of no value in the end, then I think they would just stop doing it. I think there's a genuine desire. Certainly Douglas Corporation, very good at what they do, and they've got a really good recycling area up at where is it now? Up near B&Q. They have their proper recycling centre up there, and it is a really slick little organisation.
Now, we've been joined by Nicola Holt this week while Beth's been off with the little ones for half term. Nicola, you're nodding there in the background. Do you recycle?
I do. Yes, I do. I've got my green bin and my blue bin, and we ever since Douglas Borough Council brought them out, we've been a recycling family, and I'll teach my little one to recycle as well. Good. And my bins go out. But yeah, and I just wish it was an island-wide thing. Unfortunately, it isn't, because what Bill was saying, they've got different attitudes. Local authorities got different attitudes towards recycling and stuff. But I think if more people recycled, there'd be huge benefits to. It's
certainly a message that we drill home to the children who come with us on beach cleaning, because we do have lots of families coming, new families turning up all the time. They're very welcome to come along, and it's great that the kids take it on board, because they see that even on the beach we are starting off the recycling process. So it gets through to them from a very young age. And if you know yourself, there's things that you learned in your own childhood. By the time you're 5, it's just part of your psyche. Mm-hmm. You don't change from then on. It's things that you understand. So if we can get kids, and which is why we're doing this program in the schools, if you can get kids up to the age of 15 actually doing things second nature and they don't think about it, we will break the cycle. I'm convinced that can happen.
And Nicola, you mentioned some sort of little things even that you were saying that we could do to sort of make a difference just around the home.
Yeah, it's just that if you use a particular room more than others, or you don't use a room more than others, turn the radiator down a little bit if you're not spending that much time in there. Turn a light off when you're leaving a room. Things on standby, turn them off. Just sort of save power and you save yourself money and nothing else. But yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, look at how much electricity bill is these days.
And obviously, I'm not a child, but for the last few years, I've watched campaigns and I've seen TV adverts and I've read articles and I've spoken to people like Bill and stuff. And it just sort of sits in your brain. The next time you leave a room, you walk past the light switch and you go, "Oh, I'll just turn that off." And it just becomes part of your lifestyle. You get into the habit of doing it.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Are you very conscious of things like that, Bill?
Oh, absolutely. My house at night time is lit with candles a lot. I have a wood-burning stove. I probably have maybe one small lamp with a low output bulb inside it, and I do. People will come into my house and think it's like Christmas all the time, and I suppose it is to some extent, and I have fairy lights which I use with batteries, rechargeable batteries, and you recharge the battery in the car. So I think about that. I mean, to be honest, it's second nature to me. That's just what I do, I think some people might find it a little bit odd. They might find my house a little bit dark, but it would also be very sexy.
There you go, listeners. If anyone is liking the sound of Bill Dell's voice today on our podcast. Anyway, moving
that
swiftly on. Someone else who was a little bit of a rascal in his time, Norman Wisdom.
Oh, was he?
You were buddies with Norman, weren't you? Tell us some of your. So tell us what's one of your favourite memories of Sir Norm?
You know what? He loved people. And I remember going with him. I was doing some work with him. We were raising money to build a hospice at Chernobyl, actually, for children. And part of that was just getting to know him. And now and again, he would say, "Come on, take me for a cup of tea in Ramsey," because he lived in Andreas. So jump in the car and off you go. And we were walking down the street in Ramsey, and it was busy in the summer, and lots of people around. And of course, people would see somebody as famous as Norman. I mean, let's face it, he was mega famous. And they would sort of nudge each other and quietly whisper to each other, "There's Norman across the road." And he would spot this. And the next thing you know, he'd go over and deliberately bump into them, because he loved to engage with people. And then he would have a bit of a laugh. He was a cheeky monkey, and he was always very clever at getting kisses from girls.
He was.
Oh, he was very good at that. But he just loved people, and those little stories about him just bumping into people. And I was renovating a house as well out at Nearble. And I had I think there was a plasterer and a joiner, and we were doing all sorts of work. And Norman loved property, he loved property renovation. He built his own house twice over here. And he came to my place, and these guys nearly fell off the ladder. Because, he started shouting to them up the ladder. And I didn't tell these guys that Norman was a frequent visitor. He would come down to my place maybe once a fortnight, once a week. And there at the bottom of the ladder was Norman Wisdom shaking the ladder, and having a laugh with them. It was really good fun. And of course, with Norman, things happened, because he was very good. He did this falling over a lot.
Yes.
He was very clever at falling over, but quite often he was falling over because he was a bit clumsy. And you can imagine you've got Norman Wisdom at the bottom of your ladder shaking it while you're up there doing a bit of joinery. It was really quite interesting.
He was such a character.
He was a lovely man.
He was a character. Oh, speaking of characters, Nicola, there was something else we didn't get to on the show today, wasn't there?
Well, yeah, I read the information that you sent through before you came on the show, and something that I think people would find interesting about you is that you apparently do impersonations.
Well,
who can you do, and can you do it for us now?
When I've had a few
pressure.
Glasses of red wine, I'm very good at impersonations.
Well, it just so happens I've got a bottle. No, I'm joking.
I do a Beth Espey.
Do you now?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you have to do that for us.
And I do a Batman.
Okay, pray quiet, pray silence.
You might
Batman first.
You
Batman
might find
first.
that they're similar.
Oh, Beth Espey apparently sounds like Batman. Okay, do us your Batman first.
Hello, I'm Batman.
That's
and
brilliant.
I also double up as Beth Espey with the dark, deep, sexy voice.
Oh, Beth, I wish you were here to hear this. Well, don't you worry. I'm going to immediately after the show and after this was put online, this is going straight to Beth. I think she's going to love this. Or Breath Espey, as we're going to call her from now on. Bill Dale, it's been such a joy speaking with you today. Just for those who are listening to the podcast, just let people know if they do want to volunteer for Beach Buddies, how they can do that.
The easiest way is to go onto the Facebook page, leave me a message, private mail me an email address, and then you can go on the list to find out when events are on. We go out pretty much every Sunday morning. In fact, we go out every Sunday morning. If it's horrible rain, I still go out, but we don't ask volunteers to go.
Oh, bless you.
But that's just, it's part of what we do.
What is one of the most sort of litter-covered beaches on the island, then?
Places like Langness and Castletown and Ramsey and Portmore, places where the litter collects and doesn't get blown away. So if you're on the west coast, for instance, you go to somewhere like Kirkmichael and Ballaugh, it'll go a little bit further. Each time there's a storm, it gets blown further and further, and then it'll go around the corner and end up at places like Cranston and Ramsey. But when it goes to a place like Langness and Castletown, there's nowhere else for it to go because the prevailing wind is always into the bay. So that's a pretty bad point. But to be honest, it's collecting all the time because it's coming. And on the west coast, you'll find that loads of it is from Ireland, which means that the stuff that's going out through the river here at Douglas is probably ending up giving us a bad name in places like Blackpool and Carlisle and Morecambe.
Oh, gosh,
so,
yeah.
Which is
and
not
so
good.
many of our things have actually got Isle of Man written on them as well,
Exactly.
haven't they?
So
basically the message is, please don't drop your litter.
Absolutely.
Anywhere.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Bill, it's been brilliant talking to you today. And if you've been listening to this or heard our Women Today special with Bill and you would like to recommend someone for our Conister Rocks series, do let us know. You can email womentoday@manxradio.com.
Women Today, brought to you by citywing.com for your next flight away.
Don't sit in the slow lane. Join the fast lane right now with Shaw's all-new Superfast Plus broadband. Enjoy more bandwidth, amazing speeds and the best value on the island from just £23.95 per month. So don't be left behind. Get a piece of the high-speed action with Superfast Plus broadband from Shaw. For details, visit our stores in Douglas, Ramsey and Port Erin or click shaw.com. Love being Shaw. Terms and conditions apply.